I used to treat app reward points like the junk drawer in my kitchen, random cables, old batteries, a loyalty punch card from a coffee shop that shut down 2 years ago. Now, every app wanted me earning something, like coins, gems, banana stickers, air miles I could never redeem because they lived on an island. Now, I'd watch an ad in a mobile game, get 50 glitter tokens, and then poof, they just sat there, right, trapped. And this is kind of the weird thing that happened. A single reward token popped up claiming that it could glue all of those stray points from different apps onto one on-chain balance. And the network behind it is Hedera, suddenly kind of ripped higher and kind of about 13% in a single day after the news hit. I was kind of joining the kind of Reserve Bank of Australia's project, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋 kind of stablecoin pilot. That combo, of course, the kind of practical glue plus a real central bank grade experiment made me stop mid-scroll and start digging around. So what if the next wave of crypto adoption, it doesn't come from speculation at all, but from the pocket change rewards that's quietly stacked up across the apps that you already use? All right, let me back up, right? If you've ever kind of juggled multiple store loyalty programs, you're going to know the pain, right? One supermarket gives you points that you can only spend on Tuesdays before noon. The petrol station gives you stamps towards windshield fluid. Your favorite taco place gives you a QR code that your phone refuses to scan when the line is long. Now, none of these incentives talk to each other, so most of us just leave value on the table. Now, scale that to the mobile app universe. Add reward apps, mini education platforms, idle games, NFT cores, right? Fragmented city, right? Now, when I first heard about Hedera to earn, ticker, HTE, I assumed it was just another silo, but the pitch was actually different. Keep your own in-app tokens if you want. HTE sits on top as a common reward layer that actually lands on the Hedera network. Earn in app A, see in app B, and that's not just nicer for users, it's traffic for Hedera. But here is where it gets spicy. Hedera to earn isn't starting small. 3 initial integrations are lined up: Cashtree, Mars Labs, and Berryfox. Now, Cashtree alone reportedly counts over 20 million users. And no, that's not a typo. 20 million people who already tap, swipe, and watch ads for rewards. Mars Labs and Berryfox each bring more than 2 million apiece. So even if active overlap is smaller, we're still kind of talking a user universe north of 20 million real accounts stepping closer to on-chain rewards through a shared token. Now, I used to joke that crypto talks about mass adoption like it's a motivational poster. And this is kind of a real user funnel then, right? You show someone an ad, they get HTE, they open a game, they see the same token, right? And they kind of try an educational quiz, the same token again. When rewards follow you, you start paying attention. Now, Cashtree is the anchor example because it's already about ad-based rewards. Watch an ad, tap there, or at least tap through, earn something, right? Now, historically, those points, they sit in Cashtree's garden. With HTE live on Hedera, the idea is that those rewards become an on-chain unit that you can track in a wallet and potentially use across partner apps. So it's kind of like if every time you watched a pre-roll ad on YouTube, say, you got a few airline miles that actually stacked with the miles from ordinary kind of takeaway and maybe even the miles from your grocery run. Individually, tiny, collectively, they're actually worth caring about. Mars Labs comes from a slightly different angle: education and mobile tools. So think quizzes, learning streaks, maybe course completions. Now, apps like that live or die on retention, right? So you need reasons to come back daily. Tokenized micro rewards are catnip for streak chasers. Drop in a shared token, HTE, and now your learn to earn streak feeds the very same balance that you paddle watching ads on Cashtree. Habit stacking meets token stacking. Berryfox is the wild card that I'm most curious about because it's an indie play to earn game on the Hedera mainnet. Now you can earn through gameplay loops, idle mining, in-game achievements, the usual kind of gaming economy beats, right? But the kicker is that it actually integrates the Blade Wallet SDK so that newcomers who've never actually touched a blockchain wallet can get on board with less friction. That's super important. So if you had someone, at least if you kind of hand someone a seed phrase on day one, they bounce it, right? And if you kind of hand them a game, let them kind of click shiny stuff and quietly spin up a wallet under the hood, well, you get to keep those users. Add a kind of shared reward token and they kind of graduate from I played a Fox game to I actually hold something that works in other apps too. Now, anytime that someone says millions of microtransactions, my brain immediately kind of asks about the fees. Now, you can promise 1 cent payouts all day long, but if settlement costs 3 cents, well, the model kind of breaks, right? Now, Hedera's pitch has always been learned, or at least leaned, I guess, on the low, predictable fees and high throughput delivered by the hash graph consensus design. That myth basically matters for reward economies, right? Because you've got to imagine trying to send a fraction of a cent on a network where gas swings like a meme coin chart. You'd either batch everything, delaying the feedback loop that drives engagement, or you'd burn money on the fees. Now, Hedera's architecture, it helps keep that fee predictable. So think of it like paying a handful of local coins or a couple of UAE kind of dirhams, if you will, rather than shilling out a full lunch, just to kind of move a tip, right? Real-time settlement without fees spiking lets developers reward often and tiny, which is the whole point here. Now, I tried to map how this might work in my day. So picture this, right? I'm kind of waiting for coffee as I open Cashtree, watch an ad, snag a few HTE. Later, on a flight, I open up Mars Labs. I knock out a quiz, and hey, my HTE balance ticks a little higher. Now that night I kind of veg out on playing Berryfox. I snag an in-game achievement, more HTE. Now at some point I open a wallet and the numbers from all 3 surfaces show up together. That's kind of when it all clicks, right? Those drips, they add up because they aren't sealed off, right? If you've ever kind of tracked spare change in a jar, then you know how fast it piles when you empty pockets daily. It's the same deal right here, just digital and, well, portable. Okay, let's talk about that 13% move then in Hedera HBAR's price action over the 24-hour period when the news broke, right? The network kind of joined the, Reserve Bank of Australia's project, the stablecoin pilot. Now, that kind of short-term price pop, they aren't the story, right? They're just the flare gun, right? Traders see central bank pilot plus enterprise credibility plus user growth narratives, and they just rush on in. But the important part here for all of us is the signal, right? Major institutions are testing stable settlement on Hedera. At the same time, real retail kind of scale reward flows, could actually hit from HTE partners. So stablecoin rails plus micro reward traffic is an interesting cocktail, right? Picture someone earning HTE, swapping it to a stable that they trust that's part of these kind of pilot frameworks, and maybe even sending value cross-border in seconds. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to live on day one, but the rails, they line up in a way that regular people might actually use. Now, I want to kind of pause on the kind of not replacing your native token line because it's a subtle but quite key, right? Developers of Cashtree, Mars Labs, and Berryfox, they all keep their own tokens or in-app currencies. HTE adds a second layer. So it's kind of like a grand unified reward mile. So think airline alliances, right? You can still get airline own perks, preferred seats, special lounges, but you also earn alliance miles that, spend across different partners. Now that's dual track structure lets kind of brands keep identity while their economies, while users get portability. Now, if you've ever been stuck, with a theme park ticket that works nowhere else, you know why portability does eventually win. Fees again, because I can hear the devs muttering, it's a cool story, but who pays, right? Well, Hedera's low predictable fee model means micro rewards can settle without torching, budgets. And because the fees are so low, apps can actually sponsor transactions or batch cleverly without the user paying. So when everyone's rewarding in the same token, accounting may actually simplify. One ledger, multiple earn sources. Now that's the boring kind of back office stuff that makes or breaks scale. Now, I tried a mini thought experiment with my friends. We listed the apps that we use in a typical week that hand out points. Fitness trackers awarding step streaks, language apps giving you gems, ad-supported news readers handing you coins, hailing referral credits, coffee apps. Even if 3 of those kind of lived under one reward umbrella, well, we would stop ignoring the points, right? Now we just swap in HTE and imagine those micro earning arrives, on a network with a growing stablecoin story. Suddenly, the line between loyalty and money blurs. No guarantees, of course, not advice either, but you kind of see the direction that we're potentially heading in. Okay, so it's time for a quick community plug before we go any further. We run a free educational Discord server. The link is down in the description, and it's where viewers share screenshots, they test walkthroughs, and all the weird edge cases that you bump into when moving from Web 2 apps to on-chain value. So if you end up earning, your first HTE through Cashtree or Berryfox, then drop your story down there, right? Real user flow feedback beats any white paper, trust me. And speaking of real flows, how do you actually hold the stuff, right? Berryfox integrating the Blade Wallet SDK gives us a bit of a peek, right? Blade's focused on making Hedera access less painful, social sign-ins, app-embedded wallets, and that kind of sort of thing. Well, imagine you never hear the phrase private key until you're actually ready, right? The game holds your hand here. So when you finally graduate to a full wallet, your HTE is just waiting there. And that's the kind of UX bridge that turns millions of casual gamers into blockchain participants without a scary learning curve. So let me air a contradiction that I've held for many years. Right? I've told friends that micro rewards aren't worth the tap because the amounts are so tiny, but the data keeps smacking me in the face. People show up for streaks, they show up for skins in games, they show up for watch one ad spin the wheel. Humans respond to immediate feedback. So even if it's pennies, right, they'll still turn up. Now, give those pennies a path to travel across apps and maybe swap into something more stable or more fun. Suddenly, the tiny actually matters. I was wrong to kind of shrug, I guess. Now, before I go any further, I have to do the legal housekeeping. Are you ready? Because here it comes. And this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, we're clear. Let's get practical. Suppose HTE launches and you're curious. Step 1, you check with partner apps you already use, right? If you're in the kind of app, at least ad reward crowd, Cashtree might be your entry, right? Confirm that you're on the latest version that supports Hedera rewards. You open an ad unit, collect the reward, and look for an kind of HTE balance indicator, right? Now, you don't expect instant riches, right? We're watching for the plumbing here. Step 2, you link or you spin up a wallet, right? Maybe Blade, if that's what the app kind of exposes you to, right? So the HT actually lands somewhere that you can see outside of the app. Step 3, you test the portability. Can you open Berryfox and see the same HTE? Can you earn more by hitting an achievement? Step 4, right? You track how fast it actually settles and what the fees are, if any, and if they do show up, right? If fees are invisible to you, that's a good sign that the app is covering them for you. And possibly even because Hedera fees are so tiny and predictable, right? Now, you got to document the journey. You got to share it in the Discord so that the community can build a playbook. Okay, let's wrap back to the kind of macro because scale changes everything. When you onboard 20+ million users through familiar Web 2 surfaces, you create a data gravity. Other developers notice that users are accumulating a reward that they actually care about. That pulls new apps into the orbit. Now, every additional partner increases the surface area where users can earn and spend, which makes the underlying network more attractive, which draws still more partners. So that's a flywheel, and unlike some, it's build it and they will come chains, right? This one actually starts with a captive audience that already shows up daily. Ad eyeballs are, reliable. More mobile kind of gamers, they log in. Learners will chase the streaks. You're not asking people to change habits here. You're just rewarding the habits in a way that actually travels. So, how could this expand? Right? Pure speculation zone, but please humor me here. Fitness apps, awards HTE for steps goals, for example. Music streamers drop HTE for listening streaks. Campus programs reward attendance, maybe. Retail loyalty plugs in so that receipts trigger HTE. And at that point, you're holding a cross-lifestyle micro-earn asset. Maybe you burn it for some in-game perks. Maybe you swap it to HBAR. Maybe you convert it to a Hedera-settled stablecoin if regional programs integrate it. I'm not promising any of this will happen, of course. I'm just saying that the architecture invites it. And that's actually why the project over in Australia's stablecoin pilot actually really caught my eye, right? Because if central bank kind of links up or regulated stablecoins, stable tokens kind of prove that they can move on the Hedera rails, it actually lowers the psychological wall for mainstream users, right? It'll be the I earned game coins is step 1. I converted some to a stable token that represents a real currency with real value is the next step, right? Again, timing is unknown, but the direction is rather interesting. And let's also talk about the costs again, because reward ecosystems can crumble if inflation runs wild, right? So if HTE rains down way too fast, the value token drops and users stop caring about it, right? The trick is balancing earn rates, partner budgets, and token supply rules so that the incentives feel real but not reckless, right? Hedera's transparent ledger helps track distribution. Partner dashboards could tune, emissions. And this is kind of where your feedback really matters, right? If you're seeing nonsense earn rates like 1 million tokens with a fraction of a cent, well, you should probably flag it, right? Healthy economies keep users engaged. Now, tools. Now, a bunch of you ask how I actually buy or move HBAR when I'm testing stuff. I use Kraken Pro, right? Full disclosure, the Kraken Pro link in the description is an affiliate link that supports the channel at no extra cost to you. So if you click it and trade, right, the channel may earn a commission that helps fund these deep dive experiments. So thanks for backing the work. Now I'll also kind of show inside the Discord how I move small test amounts, because watching fees is a wild, at least it teaches us lots more than we actually probably think that we're going to learn, right? So it's important to watch the fees in this wild trenches. The more you kind of know, the better. So if you're brand new and worried about messing up, start with test amounts so tiny that you'd be fine losing them. You earn a little HTE, move it, screenshot every step. Learning publicly kind of saves everyone time, right? And please please back up, your wallet credentials like the app eventually kind of hands you, right? Even when the UX feels invisible, the crypto rules still apply. Lose access, lose funds. Okay, it's time for just a brief, quick story. A friend of mine ignored an airline loyalty program years ago. One day he logged in and discovered he'd accidentally stacked enough miles across flying, credit cards, groceries, and partner shopping to fly business class. Now, he never cared about any single drip, but the pool mattered, right? Now, I want you to hold that kind of picture when you think about HTE, right? You may not care about a handful of tokens from a single ad, but if you're kind of touching 3, 5, 10 partner apps over months, your stack could become meaningful within that ecosystem. Skins, premium access, donation pools, swaps, you name it. The psychological switch from junk to stash, it happens the moment that you see the total across all applications. Now, let me loop back to something that I said earlier that sounded a little bold. I used to think that micro rewards were noise. I now think that they might actually be the stealth ramp that brings the next 10 million, maybe even 20 million, maybe far more people onto public ledgers. Not because they came for the crypto, but because crypto came to them through the rewards that they were already used to earning. The Hedera to earn is one of the cleanest attempts that I've seen at that bridge, right? And you've got to respect existing brand tokens, add portable layers, settle on fast, cheap rails, and show users a number that grows wherever they actually tap. And if you're already experimenting, well, drop a comment telling us which app you started with, Cashtree, Mars Labs, Berryfox, and whether you saw the HTE balance sync. Include region, right, if you're comfortable, of course. Some rollouts are staged, but better yet, jump into that free educational Discord, the link down below, so that we can compare notes live. Now, I'll pin a channel just for HTE onboarding screenshots so that we can watch the network effect in real time. And one more thanks to anyone who's used the Kraken Pro affiliate link. Again, that link supports the channel when you trade. No extra cost to yourself, and lets me keep testing small transactions across different networks so that you get the real data, not just kind of press release promises. So if you're moving HBAR or swapping tokens tied to your HTE earnings, well, send some feedback, right? The fee math is everything in micro reward land. So what should you watch next if you're tracking Hedera? Well, I'd keep an eye on the daily transaction counts once HTE switches on, right? Or integration switch on. I'll be looking at the unique wallet growth, especially wallets touching more than one partner app, right? That's your cross-app stickiness metric, right? Track whether stablecoin pilot news evolves into something that consumers can actually touch, and listen for new categories, retail, fitness, media, right? Joining that HTE umbrella. Now, none of this guarantees price action, of course. Networks can grow utility while tokens chop sideways or even decrease in value. But utility narratives have a very funny way of sneaking into valuation when the crowd does wake up. And so if you've made it this far, you now understand why a single rewards layer had me rethinking my junk drawer stance. Those stray cables might power a whole house when you actually plug them together. So Hedera is trying to be that power strip. So hit that subscribe button, and I'm going to catch you guys in the next Hedera story, so I can see you over there. But for now, you might want to check out that video that's queued up on the screen right there.